impact games this weekend, and one of them is Sunday night. Texans at Chiefs at Arrowhead. Both teams, as we speak, on the outside looking in at the playoffs. Both teams desperately need this game. A dynasty hangs in the balance. The Chiefs, if they lose Sunday night, would have a 12% chance of making the playoffs. Neek, what is your reaction to that percentage?
I believe that the Houston Texans are going to extinguish the Chiefs' playoff chances this season. The Chiefs have been up and down all season long. The Texans' defense is incredible. Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the same version of him that we all remember, and I think it's hard for us to let it go. I know. I hold on to the belief in Patrick Mahomes all the time. But when you watch the way their offense performs, and then you look at that damn Texans defense. Oh, my God. It's hard for me to imagine Patrick Mahomes being comfortable at all in that situation. There is no weakness on that defense. There's nowhere to attack. It's going to be a tough game for them, and especially if they have Stroud back. The offensive line isn't great, but they've been slightly better as of late, the Texans, that is. If they can score enough points, I think that they'll knock the Chiefs
The
off.
most chilling thing about looking at the playoff picture or the standings right now is that the Chiefs aren't in 7th or 8th in the AFC. They're 10th in the AFC.
Yeah.
I mean, only 5 teams are worse than them in the AFC playoff picture right now. I would add this. I was in the building when Logan Ryan intercepted a Tom Brady pass, took it in for a touchdown, and it was like, wait a second, the Patriots just lose to the Titans in the wild card? Is this really happening? Are they really out of the playoffs? That was in 2019. Will Anderson sacking Patrick Mahomes on a Sunday night on national television in early December, and you're like, time has run out. Like it might be over for the Chiefs this season, and it might happen in early December.
What do you think, Kmart?
You know what's interesting? We were talking about the Cowboys earlier, scariest team in the NFC. Right. You could say that about the Texans, right? Like at this point in the season, this is when you want to be hitting your stride. And the Texans, their defense, it's the embodiment of D'Amico Ryans as a player. It finally seems like it's coming together. But when I look at that graphic and I see 12%, I'm still like, you still have a chance, though.
Yeah.
I just cannot divorce myself from, because you give them the benefit of the doubt from the standpoint of they have championship pedigree. If there's a team that can get it together, but we're running out of get it together time.
And Jeff, you love all the gambling stuff, right? You're learning about all this stuff. Fascinated.
I like
So
it.
Fortenbaugh sent me this. These two teams, the Chiefs and Texans, played each other in the wild card round last year. And the Chiefs at home were a 10-point favorite. Here they are, whatever this is, 11 months later. The Chiefs are a 3.5-point favorite in this game. That is a massive shift. And it deals with A, how good all of a sudden people perceive Houston to be, and B, and maybe more significantly for the purposes of this conversation, how vulnerable we perceive the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you flip it to the Houston Texans defense right now, you think last week against Daniel Jones, they held him to basically a 50% completion rate. He's been 60-plus all season. The week before they faced the Buffalo Bills, 8 sacks against Josh Allen. Talk about nightmares are made of. 8 sacks in a game, and now you're talking about a Chiefs offensive line, and by the way, who actually hadn't played that bad, but the pressure they can put on without having to blitz, without having to bring extra so they can play coverage behind it. And let's be honest about Mahomes. You think about the Jacksonville game, the Bills game, Denver, and the Colts. He threw interceptions in all of those games. That's not the Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is going to have to play a perfect game. When you think about what you're asking him to do, and here's a great example, right? Against the Broncos right here, you're seeing him. He's going to turn. He's going to end up trying to loop this thing out, buying time. He's trying to make something. This is in the red zone, y'all. And all of a sudden, we're going to dump it off below, and it's an interception against the Broncos. These are not characteristic plays for him. This is Jacksonville earlier in the season. In the red zone, the play of the game kind of type thing. This is when Mahomes rises, Mahomes magic. There's no pressure. You can go back and watch this a million times. There's no pressure. He sees it. He doesn't see the backer dropping into coverage. He ends up picking this thing off and running it. And the reason I'm saying that is perceived pressure matters in the NFL. It's not always about sacks and pressure. Perceived pressure to quarterbacks. It speeds up the timing in their head. And so he begins to let the ball go a split second late or a split second early. That's where turnovers happen, and that's what's happened this season.
So I feel like what he's saying, and what a lot of people feel like they don't want to say, because we admire him so much. Patrick Mahomes just hasn't been his usual brilliant self this year. He's been very good, but he is trending towards being maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. He hasn't been that this season.
There are certain quarterbacks that you can't do certain things against, and Patrick Mahomes was one of those guys where it's like, we don't want to blitz him because he'll make us pay. We don't want to play zone coverage because he's going to get it done. Like, it feels like some of those things are not true anymore right now, and that's the thing. You saw that Broncos game. The Broncos have the personnel. The Texans have similar personnel that they can rush for and do a bunch of different complicated things in the back end to take away his top receiver.
So, Peter, that's the right question on the screen, because the reality is sometimes we need to sit back. I'm remembering the game you're remembering. There's a playoff game in New England. It was Tom Brady's last game as a Patriot. But if you sort of turn it the other way around, here we are December 3rd or whatever it is. Could you see them getting red hot, winning all these games and going in with a head of steam? I could see that happening.
Of course, Arrowhead at Tennessee, Arrowhead at Vegas. Those are 5 winnable games, of course.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is this. 2 weeks ago, I sat in this chair before they played Indianapolis, and everyone was saying the Colts were the best team. I said, I wouldn't bet against the Chiefs in late November against the Indianapolis Colts and Arrowhead. I don't feel that way against the Texans. The Texans' defense is legit. Texans' defense travels, and the Texans do have some playoff history. They've been there the last couple of years. They're not some neophyte team just walking into Arrowhead with the stars. They're like too bright.
True.
I feel like Sunday night the Texans can handle the Chiefs.
They should, but they still have to walk into Arrowhead and prove that they can walk in there and beat the Chiefs on their home court. I like the Chiefs in this one, actually.
Chiefs are a slim favorite, as we said. This same game was played 11 months ago with even bigger stakes, and the Chiefs were a double-digit favorite. They won that game by 9. We'll see what winds up happening. Okay, much more on the
Chiefs Kingdom, gather around, because Sunday night isn't just another game on the schedule. It isn't just another must-win moment. This is the kind of night that decides legacies. This is the kind of night that decides whether a dynasty survives or whether the rest of the NFL finally gets what they've been praying for. When the analysts said that a loss drops Kansas City to a 12% chance of making the playoffs, they threw out that number like the story is already written. But if history has taught us anything, it's that you never, ever count out the Kansas City Chiefs when the stakes are highest. Yes, the talk all week has been loud. Texans this, Texans that. Analysts claiming Houston is going to extinguish the Chiefs' playoff hopes. They talk about the Texans' defense like it's an impenetrable wall. They say Patrick Mahomes hasn't been himself. They replay the turnovers, the red zone mistakes, the missed reads, the pressure getting to him even when it's not actually there. They say the Chiefs have fallen to 10th in the AFC and that the dynasty hangs by a thread. Some even predicted a symbolic moment, Will Anderson sacking Mahomes on national TV, just like the moment Tom Brady's run in New England ended. They act like Kansas City's chapter is nearly closed. But what they're forgetting is the same thing people always forget. This team has been down before. This team has been questioned before. And every single time, when the lights get bright, when the season tightens, when the belief of the outside world crumbles, something inside this organization sharpens. Something wakes up. Something refuses to die. Look at what the analysts aren't talking about. They aren't talking about how the Chiefs still have winnable games ahead. They aren't talking about how Kansas City's defense, even in an inconsistent year, still forces turnovers and still shows flashes of the identity Steve Spagnuolo built. They aren't talking about the adjustments Andy Reid makes when his back is against the wall. And they definitely aren't talking about what happens when Patrick Mahomes finally settles in, embraces the pressure, and turns desperation into domination. We have seen this movie too many times to pretend the ending is obvious. Sunday night is not about 12%. It's not about standings. It's not about who the media believes deserves the spotlight. Sunday night is about pride. It's about blood in the water. It's about a team that has carried the NFL for the last half-decade finally being told it's done. And if you think Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Chris Jones, and Andy Reid are going to let someone else write their ending, then you haven't been paying attention. This game is the moment where champions respond. The Texans may come in hot, but they still have to step into Arrowhead and prove they can finish a dynasty. And that's a heavy task. Arrowhead in December is where myths fade and reality sets in. It's where quarterbacks flinch under the noise. It's where defenses miscommunicate. It's where the kingdom rises. So yes, Chiefs Kingdom, the numbers say 12%. The standings say 10th place. The critics say we're slipping. But the heart of a champion doesn't care about numbers. It doesn't care about panic. It doesn't care about narratives written by people who have never stepped into this kind of fire. This team has one more run in them, and it begins Sunday night. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe Kansas City answers the call? Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay locked in as we ride through this final stretch together. Chiefs Kingdom never quits.